Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the relatively uncommon Steel Rock-type Pokemon Aron, its uncommon evolution Lairon, and its rare final evolution Aggron, collectively known as the Iron Armor Pokémon. Tougher than nails, and more than capable of taking a hit and moving right through an opponent, the members of the Aron family are powerful brutes that can more than put their great physical defenses to use by taking the worst of blows and retaliating with gusto every time. Aron possess small ovoid dark gray bodies made up of 3 distinct ribbed sections, with 4 small digitless feet and massive ovoid head adorned with large, bright blue eyes. Their entire upper body, legs, and head are covered in a white steel carapace, with a pair of round holes on their body, along with a single metal spine and 3 pairs of holes on their head, 2 of them being small and the last set being large and acting as eye holes. Their evolved form, Lairon, are also quadrupedal with 4 legs, but the legs have more definition to them, with a ring of steel material just below their knees and a trio of steel-covered frontward-facing claws on each foot, and large joints of hide material at their knees, marked by an outward protrusion. Their segmented bodies now have fine parts to the torso, with thick bands of hide material interspersed between them, a small tail on the last segment of their body, and their head is now more proportionate to the rest of their form. They still possess a steel carapace on their back and head, with their back and head segments being adorned with a total of 5 large ridges and a series of holes along each segment, and their mouths are now readily visible, with a beard of hide material on their lower jaw and a set of 4 sharp fangs in their upper and lower jaws. Their final evolution, Aggron, possess an anatomical form that is very similar to that of Lairon in terms of their limbs, but they differ substantially in that they are completely bipedal in their locomotion. Their body is crisscrossed by a number of hide plates for greater stability, and their back armor has been reduced heavily in form, only covering a small part of their backs and leaving their thick, massive segmented tail to move freely. Their head is now covered in a tri-plated steel form with a few holes in it, 2 of which are eye holes and another pair that are used as the house for a pair of large metallic horns that jut out quite a ways from their head, while their fangs have vanished and have been replaced with an outgrowth of their steel carapace, giving them a steel jaw more than capable of crushing rocks and bones with ease. Lastly, it is noted that Aggron do possess a mega evolution, and in this state, almost the entirety of their body becomes covered in a thick layer of metal, fused completely into their outer hide, granting them a glittering appearance in bright light. Their head is encapsulated in a thick crest of metal with exposed horns, as are their legs and lower arms, the latter having metal outgrowths on the side, their front and back torso, and their segmented tail, the hide generating wing-like outgrowths at their shoulders and ultimately serving to make them look and act as living bunkers that not even the strongest of blows can easily penetrate. Renowned for their impressive physical defenses and rugged forms, the members of the Aron family are powerful creatures that can more than use the defensive power of the rock and steel types to make them nearly impossible to breach without access to special attacks or super effective moves. These creatures naturally possess a thick, rock-like hide that makes their skin incredibly hard to breach, though it is affected by impulses delivered through certain types of moves belonging to the fighting and ground types, among others, and seems to be vulnerable to the effects of water and plant-based energies, thus making their classification as rock types understandable. However, at the same time, these creatures possess a thick metallic carapace that covers much of their form and is so prevalent on their extremities that it makes them primary steel types, their natural hide being forced down as a consequence of them not only using their metallic carapace more often, but, more importantly, the greater occurrence of steel-type attacks in their move repertoire compared to rock-type moves. This metallic armor is generated by these creatures eating iron-rich ore and digesting the material, taking what nutrients their bodies need from the rocks and excreting excess metallic ions outwards through tiny pores in their hide, forming the metal shell that covers their form. These creatures are ravenous eaters of iron ore as a result of this, and will eat just about anything in order to keep their carapace intact, which can occasionally put them into conflict with humans attempting to mine the very same ore. Although they start off very small in size and can take a little while to evolve from their state of birth, even at a young age, these creatures possess incredibly powerful physical defenses and can take a tremendous amount of punishment, their bodies being strong enough to take the harshest of blows without feeling automatically, and capable of absorbing recoil energy from certain types of reckless attacks with ease. As a result, these creatures can possess sturdy and rock head as base abilities, while those that have armor that is unusually dense can also have the heavy metal ability as a hidden ability. Moreover, while in a mega evolved state, these creatures naturally generate a second layer of metallic armor over their bodies with a different chemical makeup than their primary armor, and where the two types of armor come into contact, they exchange electrons in a way that creates a semi-intense electrical field around the bodies of these beasts. This field is not strong enough to grant them any real offensive or defensive powers on its own, but it does have the effect of dispersing other energy forces that come into contact with Mega Aggron, both mechanical and non-mechanical, reducing the amount of energy imparted on their bodies and in turn granting Mega Aggron the rare filter ability as their only ability. In terms of stats, in looking at Aggron, while these creatures do look imposing, their stamina is not as great as it could be as a result of the heavy nature of their bodies, and their mobility is limited for the same reason. Plus, their access to special offenses and resistance against them are quite poor, resulting in most of their base stats being below average for fully evolved Steel and Rock-type Pokémon. However, it is in their physical stats where these creatures truly shine, as their rugged bodies and thick armor can help to make them not only extremely resistant against damage from physical attacks, but, more importantly, allows them to dish it out with great force as well, resulting in their base attack and defense stats being above average for fully evolved Pokémon of both of their types. As such, while they might not be great for every combat scenario, in a close quarters fight, these monsters are imposing beasts that can more than take a hit and dish it right back out and, with the right ability, can take the worst of hits and recoil and be left standing none the weaker and more than ready to deliver retaliation that the opposition might not survive as readily. At a young age, Aron are voracious in their eating habits as they need to eat a lot to rapidly facilitate growth and eventual evolution, so they have a habit of eating just about anything they can find that contains iron in it, in addition to the few berries they eat for other essential nutrients and water, even if that means eating things that were made by both natural and artificial sources with high concentrations of the element in it. As such, while they normally only dwell in iron-rich caves to eat the rocks contained inside, they will go outside if they run out of readily available food resources and will eat man-made objects like bridges and rails in order to get what they need for sustenance and their steel carapace. This can make them an extreme nuisance in large numbers and can cause a lot of infrastructure damage as a result. But while their steel carapaces and thick hide help to deter most types of attack, they are generally non-combative and will simply move to some other place if they are confronted by something that wishes to do them harm or otherwise drive them away. However, this does not mean that they should be angered, for despite their small size, these creatures are incredibly powerful and are strong enough to render heavy dump trucks inoperable with a single fully powered takedown attack, which in turn can serve as a handy snack for them. Thankfully, these creatures do make up for this somewhat, as when they grow too large for their metallic carapace and evolve into Lairon, they must forcefully remove their old armor and discard it, which can then be melted down as scrap metal to produce steel of the absolute finest quality. While they might seem imposing from all this, Aron are actually quite easy to train and get along with, and can make great partners for trainers looking to experiment with their unique type assignment and the brutal physical attacks they can get access to at a fairly young age. Unlike Aron, Lairon are quite aggressive and can be a serious hazard to many people, as they are not afraid to defend the iron ore deposits they feed on and will viciously attack any person or Pokemon that tries to take what they feel is rightfully theirs to consume. While Aron generally rely on berries for water and the essential nutrients they need to survive that iron ore cannot provide, Lairon instead have come to dine on fresh spring water from deep inside their mountainous homes, as the often mineral-rich waters they feast upon contain much larger concentrations of vital vitamins and especially minerals, and their mouths are now large enough to take advantage of this resource. When these creatures find a fresh source of water underground, they will make their nest near it and guard it with their lives, gulping down massive quantities of the liquid until they are completely bloated, storing the liquid's mineral and vitamin content in their bodies for later use until they need more to continue growing, repeating the process. This can make them great for locating these sorts of springs, as their noses are able to detect the smell of this mineral water with ease once they get accustomed to the smell of a particular location's water supply. But there is likely to be trouble if it has already been claimed by another Lairon, as these beasts are highly territorial. If two Lairon meet each other over a territorial dispute, they will either conduct a contest against one another or simply fight. As far as contests, these creatures will smash their heads into thick boulders and rock walls in order to display their power, generating sparks in the process. The larger the sparks, the more powerful a Lairon is observed to be. If they cannot confront each other civilly, they will instead resort to bashing their steel-coated heads against each other until one of them faints from exhaustion, the sound of their impacts being loud enough, if done outside, for the sound to echo across the landscape for miles. As such, it is unwise to get between these creatures if they are fighting each other, and can be a bit of a handful to train, but they thankfully don't take too long to evolve once in this state, making them a more manageable force to deal with than one might initially think. If one thought Lairon were territorial, they are nothing compared to their fully evolved form, Aggron, who are known to claim entire mountains as their territory, patrolling them on a regular basis to make sure that no one tries to take over the resources that they have claimed as their own. However, while this might seem ridiculous and extremely possessive, Aggron are not cold-hearted brutes in this respect, as they take good care of their homes and make sure that it not only provides the resources they and their kind need, but, more importantly, looks pleasing to themselves and others. If something like a fire or landslide happens that damages their mountain homes, these massive mammals will haul topsoil to the damaged areas and will plant new trees and even wildflowers in order to help accelerate the natural recovery of their homes, ensuring that it looks beautiful again as a sign of pride and their dedication to making their homes as aesthetically appealing as possible. This level of care and detail shows how intelligent these creatures truly are, and acts as a counterpoint to their behavior in a fight, as they are extremely brutish in combat and specialize in thrashing around their rugged bodies and horns to gouge and smash apart their opponents with wicked attacks like Double Edge and Heavy Slam, the latter of which their massive frames help to deliver with greater force and power than nearly any other Pokemon known. Interestingly, while it can be hard to tell the age of these creatures, their horns act as a ready meter for this examination, as their horns grow continuously, about 2 millimeters a year on a constant, never-ending basis, so the longer they are, typically the older the Aggron that possess them is. It is also noted that, while these creatures can excrete a fresh layer of metal over their armored bodies in order to heal any severe damage done to them, these monsters only do so enough to keep them protected against further attack and the effects of rust. They do this because, behaviorally, battle scars are seen as highly attractive to members of this family and are worn as a badge of honor by wild Aggron to show how experienced in battle they truly are, and in turn act as a status symbol that helps to show their natural personalities and make them look more honorable than their otherwise brutish combat tactics might make them look like. It is lastly noted that Aggron are one of the few Pokemon that are known to be capable of undergoing the process of Mega Evolution when they are in possession of an Aggronite. In this form, these beasts are transformed into true heavy metal monsters by using the energy granted by Mega Evolution to infuse their rocky hide with massive amounts of metallic ions, which bind together inside the hide and effectively petrify it with metal. This replaces all of the stone-like tissue in the hide with metal and causes the rest of their metal armor to twist and mutate to accommodate for new outgrowths formed from the process, turning Mega Aggron literally into walking fortresses. As a result of this transformation, Mega Aggron lose their partial Rock-type assignment, becoming pure Steel-type Pokemon in the process. In this form, Mega Aggron are practically impenetrable and can use their elongated steel horns to smash through anything that gets in their way, even going so far as to being capable of reducing an armored tank to scrap metal in a single charge. In terms of stats, this sudden crystallization of metal in their hide has the effect of moderately increasing Mega Aggron's base special defense stat, considerably increasing their base attack stat, and astronomically increasing their base defense stat. And while this doesn't do much to change the overall performance in regards to stat averages, it does grant them the highest base defense stat out of all Pokemon, tied with Shuckle and Mega Steelix. They might lose some of their additional resistances as a result of this change, but Mega Aggron are overall much better fit by their new typing and stats, as well as their new filter ability, and are more than capable of using their rugged bodies and now incredible physical offenses to plow through anything and everything and make themselves a dire threat to have to face in almost any scenario. Physically imposing to the extreme and more than capable of making themselves into a dire threat in close quarters brawls, the members of the Aron family are indeed mighty creatures that can more than make an impact in a fight when it comes to taking and dishing out physical blows. It might take a while to get them into a fully evolved state, but for those that are willing to be patient, they can more than prove to be a nuisance that only fast Pokemon and or those with strong special attacks will be able to put down without too much of a fight. If you find yourself exploring a cave and come across some of these creatures, do yourself a favor and try to maintain a distance from them if you are not prepared for the worst. Aron might not be too much of a problem to deal with, but Lairon are more than a bit aggressive, and if you are unlucky enough to run into an Aggron, you might as well say your goodbyes the moment they come charging at you before you either get skewered or crushed into dust. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
Yeah, no.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.